you know, it's interesting because in this world, there is just so much argument about what's best, what's optimal.
Yeah.
And I love what you said earlier about our training should match our fitness goals, right?
Right.
And are we just listening to people whose goals are completely different than our own? That can help us to sift through a lot of the information out there. But we talked about this with Parker Spencer when he was on the podcast, and he talked about having the science background, but then also having the training background, and what that can do to our vision about what things should look like. And granted, not everyone is an elite athlete, but there's things that we can learn from the training regimes of elite athletes that just make sense, right? We have decades worth of data. And so you see this argument between zone 2 style training, HIIT training, this one's better, and no, you only need, zone 4, zone 5, the high intensity training. No, you only need zone 2. Well, this is what's happening with, your cells and your mitochondria and this,
Right.
and there's all this argument. But when we look at the science, right, what does the science tell us? And then we look at that training history, we find that people that perform the best and that live really long lives have that high volume of base training, right? That zone 2 training,
Yeah.
where it's relatively easy and they can accumulate a high volume, as you said, without burnout, injury, fatigue. And they're still getting that high intensity so that it's pushing the edge of what they can do, right? It's affecting their cardiovascular system, their musculoskeletal system, their neuromuscular system. Like all those systems are having to get tuned up to allow for that top end performance.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like it's not this either or. It's enough of both that we're getting the effects that are going to lead us to staying in the game, growing our health, growing our capacity, and being able to do that ad infinitum.
Yeah.
That we aren't dropping out because we're just burned out, because we're injured.
Right.
And I think that's the nuance that we often miss in highlighting our favorite, method of working out. Is the baseline question is, what can I do on repeat for decades so that my health, that my quality of life, that my quality of health stays elevated for as long as possible. And
Right.
and if I get dropped out of the game again and again and again and again, like that severely impacts my progress over years and decades. It's the law of compounding, either in the positive direction or in the negative direction.